Greetings, unsettled souls. Dear God, that looks a lot like the Correct Views studio. Yes, for the first time in 6 long, agonizing, rather unpleasant months, I have been out of my studio. I am back. The internet is in it. It is still with the beautiful decor. That can be hired for that. Great. Your landlord will throw you out. Back in the studio, and we decided to bring the show back in style. And the way we're doing that is to go ahead and talk about somebody who's standing up for the Second Amendment. That would be the right to bear arms, snowflakes. Bill Baker, welcome to the Correct Views.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Wonderful to have you on. I'd like to ask, just in a nutshell, what is going on the 5th, on May 5th?
May 5th, we organized. It's going to be open carry Second Amendment awareness walk. Pretty much, us patriots standing up for our Second Amendment right, and also to educate those out there who seem misinformed about their Second Amendment right.
Now, for those wanting to attend this, where is it going to be located, and where can they find the website? We'll get that out of the way first so people can look at that while we're talking. You're going to want to, friends, by the way. You're going to want to.
Okay, I'll share. There is an event page. The info, as far as all the info will be posted that everybody needs to know this Friday. Right now, we've just been pretty much keeping everybody informed what's going on. But the main meeting point I can tell you now is going to be the big parking lot beside McDonald's, downtown Barberton. The event's going to start at 1 and it's going to go through 5. We do have food service that's going to come out there and serve us. None of the restaurants down there want us in there open carrying. They're afraid we're going to scare the customers.
No, it's not illegal. It's not illegal for you to go in. You're just deciding not to because they asked you not to.
No, the state of Ohio is an open carry state, but while open carrying, the owner of the establishment has the right to tell you to leave the premises.
Oh,
now, concealed carry is totally different than open carry.
I understand. I understand now. Yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Actually, White House Chicken, the owner from there, and I'm not trying to put him on blast. He was okay with us going in there. He said that he had to talk with his manager who was going to be working that weekend because he was going to be out of town. Mm-hmm. And I said, no problem. He calls me back and says, well, my employee said that if I allow it, that they're not going to show up to work that day. So I have to say no. So basically, he was held hostage by his employees who said, well, if you allow these people that exercise their Second Amendment right coming in here, we're not going to come to work. And this is the same problem we're facing all over now.
And clearly, for listeners that don't know, we all know that people who pose a threat to society usually go on shows like this and announce that they're showing up. You know, that's common.
Yeah, exactly.
I've had people ask me, and I wanted to see if you have another instance where you could think of it. I've had people ask me repeatedly, why would you need a semi-automatic rifle to stop someone? And I use the example of a convenience store owner who's dealing with a flash mob, or a person that lives maybe in a slightly better neighborhood during some kind of economic collapse, or even something like a nuclear disaster that has a lot of people panicking and rushing to stores. That would be one instance where I think you would need more than 10 bullets. What do you think? What would be some examples that you would give?
My response on that, and I'll probably get a little harsh here, the libtards.
No, that's fine.
The libtards have everybody completely brainwashed on this whole AR assault weapon. For one, there's no such thing as assault weapon. You know, a firearm is an inanimate object. It doesn't act on its own. My guns have never walked out the middle of the night and killed anybody. So my question would be, and they keep referring to the Second Amendment. Well, that was written for muzzle loaders only, and the civilians didn't have weapons of war. Well, sorry, the people back then had the exact same weapons that the Army had back then. You know, unfortunately, they didn't have the modern technology we had today, but nowhere in the Second Amendment does it say, oh, it's restricted to this century, muzzle loaders, this technology only. Of course, the founding fathers knew that technology was going to advance. The government was going to get more powerful, you know, along with weaponry. So, of course, our weapons advanced too. And of course, we don't have the same weapons as government. An AR is not a, no, I'm almost a 10-year veteran. An AR-15 is not a weapon of war. You know, people commonly mistake the AR-15 with the M4, two totally different weapons.
Has the law?
Now,
Go ahead. No, please go ahead.
I would ask the same person that asked me why I need an AR or any rifle or any handgun with a 20-round, 30-round magazine, whatever the case might be. You know, what happens when the government, you know, turns tyrannical, which they're doing now, or say if 10 people try to break in my house, am I going to protect my family with a muzzle loader? Now, load one shot, shoot one guy, say, hey, I got to load another one. Just, you can't do nothing. You got to wait till I load. No, it's not fair. It really amazes me how uneducated people are on their history, where we came of as a nation, why we're here, you know, why we're a free state. Without the Second Amendment, we would not be the free country we are right now, plain and simple. And it pisses me off when I see our own citizens out there marching to have their freedoms taken away from them.
I saw a meme that I thought was really interesting regarding that. It said, it had a picture of Adolf Hitler, and it said he never dreamed they would ask for it. And it was like a real jubilant picture of him, like right after he took over Paris or something. And I thought it was interesting. The Nazis did it by force. The Russians, the Chinese, they've all done this historically, taking guns away by force. In this country, we have people hogging, if you will, the limelight, begging people to take their rights away.
Yes, they do, and that's the sad part. I mean, even countries, and you know, you won't see this on CNN or the real news, even countries who have banned weapons and, you know, force their citizens to turn all their weapons in, they have higher crime rates than we do. You know, it's why. Then you ask yourself, then whenever there's a mass shooting, you know, every time I see anybody get killed, especially children, you know, we all cry. I don't care if you're on the left, you're on the right, everybody cries. It's something none of us want to see. But these mass shootings always take place in a gun-free zone. Why is it?
And the other thing I was saying before, when there's a, I want to say it's in Oklahoma, where they are allowing people to carry guns in churches. And I had said, you know, everyone says, oh, well, Christians are supposed to turn the other cheek. I said, that is true, but it also says in the Bible that the body is a temple and that you protect the temple. Also, when you get married, you promise to protect your spouse. Therefore, the Bible gives a lot more leeway to protection than people would think. And it would be wise for people to remember that, because you're going to see crime rates, I think, going down in churches in Oklahoma.
Oh, yeah. If you bring the Bible into it, Christians have been fighting wars and under attack for centuries, decades. I mean,
there's a time
nowhere in the Bible does it say Christians are supposed to stand down and say, okay, shoot me.
There was I cannot remember the gentleman's name. I'm looking for it online here, but I watched it, a recent documentary in England. It was about an active shooter that was roaming the streets with a gun, and the police had to get permission to get a gun. Nobody in England had a gun to defend themselves, and he walked around as if, you know, he was 100 feet tall and indestructible, literally like Godzilla. Nobody there to protect themselves. And that's the environment that the left, I think, clamors to have, and a growing number, alarmingly, of people on the right, rhinos particularly.
And the problem too in today's society, and it's they're playing a game of chess, and they're playing a real, they're strategizing every move they make. They took in history pretty much out of schools. They're not teaching, the young kids anymore about the Constitution, what our rights are. I mean, they took the Pledge of Allegiance from, out of schools. They took an American flags out of schools. They're how I want to say it. They're reprogramming today's youth, future voters. Kind of say, yeah, they're brainwashing them. And the youth, I can understand where they're coming from. They're not real educated on the point. It's not fault of theirs. It's the system to let them down. But when I see these adults out here who should know better, they're literally marching to have their rights taken away from their freedom and liberties. And I can't. I'm asking myself, are they doing this for attention, or do they really want this to happen?
And it's not a grassroots movement like the left wants people to believe it is either. I just covered an article where teachers were taking kindergarten students and walking them through the streets in an anti-gun march. Obviously, that's pushed and with an agenda by somebody in the school or who was paid to do this from outside sources from the school. They had children laying down in traffic, and it actually impeded first responders. So it's not the grassroots movement. It might be, when you see 15, 16-year-olds, you could think maybe, they possibly could be the case. But this is not a Woodstock event when you're talking about people who are 6.
Oh, no. And, you see on mainstream media, on this last school shooting, they show the same 5 kids on TV, but they won't show you the other kids who they interviewed who are pro Second Amendment and want their gun rights.
Allowed to speak at the rally when he survived the shooting.
What was that?
One of them wasn't even allowed to speak at the rally when he survived the shooting.
No, he wasn't. Then there's interviews of kids there who saw. Well, one interview was a kid that was standing next to the kid walking down the hall with them, who was the kid that was accused of the shooting. Then there's other kids that reported seeing 2 men in the hallway, dressed in masks, vests, helmets, shooting rifles, and none of that's reported. Why was the Secret Service at that school 3 weeks beforehand? Now, all the schools in the United States, why was the Secret Service at that school 3 weeks before the shooting going to put on what they said, a live active shooter?
Active shooter.
Yeah, they're going to have an active shooter drill. It's funny, all the schools in the United States and the Secret Service getting involved in that.
And again, I think people that hear what you're talking about and viewers that keep coming in and out, feel free to call. I don't do this early in the show because you end up with all the pranksters, but anybody watching 20 minutes into it, you obviously are not a prankster. 330-371-4530. I will put you on speakerphone. Once again, 330-371-4530. I'll put you on speakerphone. Also call me.
It's just I won't get into it too much, but I don't think the shooting was a random act of violence. I really don't. It's funny, and I don't mean to use this term, but before the bodies were even cold, they already had a gun bill passed, written out the pass banning AR-15s, and once again, they're going after high-capacity magazines and bump stocks, and it's just crazy.
And I think, too, whenever it's brought up that we're saying that it looks like it was planned, a lot of people think that means that, your average Joe, we all know a first responder, a paramedic, fireman, someone like that. and they think that we mean that they're somehow in on it too. And there's too many people that know, firemen, policemen, whatever, that, and it's just not what they're doing. That's not really what we're talking about here, I don't think. What do you think, Bill? It's more like if the upper level decides that they're going to do a number of drills in a certain area, and there's enough drills that when it happens at just one of them, it seems like a coincidence. But it's odd that it's never one, or almost never one, that they haven't already had one of these drills in. And that's a nuance that, if anybody doesn't know what I mean, call. That is a nuance that must be understood. That it is not the people that we have a beer with that are stitching up wounds in the ER that are in on this. That's not that's lunacy.
Yeah, that's, yeah, and that's, you're preaching to the choir.
Well, before we do go, I'm gonna ask you if there's. Well, I have two questions. First of all, I guess the one would be for anybody wanting to come to the march. What are the rules? Do you have to own the gun? What are your rules to having it open, to having it concealed? What should people know before they come to support this? And maybe they don't know their rights and they could end up in trouble. What should everyone know?
Well, everybody should know. I'm not going to give any legal advice or anything. I don't want to be held liable for anything. Go online, look up Ohio's an open carry state. Go online. It'll tell you all the laws for open carry. Open carry for someone without a concealed carry is completely different with someone with a concealed carry. Even when it comes to long guns, when you have a concealed carry permit, there's still, you got to abide by the law about the way they're transported and everything else. At the event,
to own the gun that you're carrying if you don't have a license, or can it be someone else that you? If someone has a gun that they allow you to carry, is that legal or is that not legal?
It's legal if you're of legal age to legally carry that gun.
Okay.
So if you were 16 years old and someone said, "Hey, you can borrow my gun for this event," no, that's not legal.
I understand. All right.
As long as it's a legal firearm, you're legal age. It doesn't matter where the firearm came from. If your dad let you use it, your brother let you use it. Really, when people say, you hear it all the time, well, that gun's registered to so and so. There is really no such thing as a registered gun. The only time a gun is traced back to an individual is the first buyer of that gun. So if I went out and bought a gun and sold it to the person, they sold it to someone else, and 50 hands later, something happened and they ran the numbers on that gun, it would just come back to me as I was the original purchaser of it. So when people start talking gun registration, there's no such thing as a gun registration in Ohio.
And gun registration, of course, leads to gun confiscation, as history has taught us. Again, last time I'm given the number, friends, 330-371-4530. It is...
Well, people research the countries that, have banned guns. They started out with, okay, we're going to ban rifles. So... or they made everybody register the rifles. Hey, if you own a rifle, you have to register it. Well, once everybody registered it, they came back and said, okay, we're banning all rifles. So everybody...
in states that have these new gun laws, there's guns that were legal at the time they were purchased. They're not even being grandfathered in, are they? Where are they going?
No. Yeah, that's the thing. When they pass these laws, there is going to be no grandfather clause where if you already own it. It's either going to be turn it in, or if you're caught with it, you face fines and up to 10 years imprisonment. Then I don't think the actions of one person, should be, I am the majority. We're the majority. The majority should not be punished for the actions of one person, and that's what they're doing.
And again,
that's
understand how many innocent lives are saved every day, likely while this show is going on, that never make.
You'll never hear them,
because a lot of times
you'll never hear them.
The gun is pulled and nothing. Nobody calls.
Yeah, the lives that are saved with guns, the crimes that are, prevented with guns without even a shot being fired. You'll never see those statistics on the news. They don't want you to see those statistics. No, they just want you to see, um, that's how many people are killed a day with a handgun. You'll never see that reported on the news. Just when there's this one freak, horrible incident where, kids are killed and a guy happened to use an AR, they're like, okay, that's our mojo. We're going to use this to push our ARs. We're going to take all the ARs. We're going to use this to fuel it. We're going to drive it. And we're going to put the kids out front because no one's going to debate these kids and argue with them. They're going to be like, oh, they're just teenagers. We'll leave them. No teenager, no teenager.
They're going to vote.
What's that?
They're going to vote in like a year, 2 years. So yeah, you're right.
Yeah, they're like I said, it goes back to the brainwashing. They're prepping their future voters. So it's like I said, it's a game of chess. They're being, it's one move at a time, and that's how they're playing us. But I can tell you right now, and this ain't a threat. I'm not threatening nobody. There'll be another civil war before, the majority gives up their right, their Second Amendment right, to be able to bear and keep arms, to protect themselves, their loved ones, and others. We're not going to give that up. What's the left going to do when they're doing a really good job at it? And I'm scared to death what's going to happen. What are they going to do when they keep pushing this and they do trigger another civil war? What are they going to do? Non-lethal? Fight us with pillows?
And
at that point,
I worry that people don't understand what a slippery slope that is. Once the government started the IRS, they took a little bit of money, and that little bit of money grew incrementally into the monster that we have now. When the government started getting involved in healthcare, it used to just be people who were absolutely infirm, the dying, and those who fell off a ladder, broke their leg, and had no insurance. Suddenly, they're controlling everything, and yet somehow the left doesn't believe that that's going to happen in terms of gun confiscation.
No, the left has this crazy fantasy world bubble that they live in, that they think that, oh, well, we can be a gun-free society and the government will take care of us and they'll protect us. And, this is the way I look at it. If you don't want a gun, don't own a gun. But don't come after law-abiding citizens like me and say, I can't own a gun just because you don't like them. No, if you don't like them, fine. I don't make you go to a gun store and buy them. No, I don't make you own one. So what gives you the right, that's especially when it's in the Constitution that our forefathers fought and died for, to make us a free nation. The United States wasn't always a free country. We had to fight for our freedom. And that's what a lot of people forget, and probably most don't even know.
I think
that's what
most humorous. One of the things I think that are most humorous is the fact that you have the left saying that Donald Trump is the new Hitler. Now, I obviously don't believe it, but let's just go with the logic that they have, and we'll assume that, okay, for whatever reason, they believe that Donald Trump is the new Hitler. They are marching in the streets then to give the guns to Trump. Even if you follow their logic, as I just did, it makes even less sense than it did before.
You are absolutely right.
It's like asking to give your lunch money to the person you're calling the bully.
Exactly. And I watch these videos on these March for Lives events, and when these people are being interviewed, and just the questions they're asked, I don't know if they realize how uneducated they're looking, or they're pretty much making themselves look like fools. And you ask them a simple question. Well, they have a sign up, ban all ARs. You ask them, what's an AR? Oh, it's this mean terrible gun that only the military should have, and it causes such that, I mean, just it shoots 500 bullets a second. I'm like, man, I want one of those. Where'd I get one? You know, they have no clue what it is they're trying to ban or what it is they're talking about, but yet they want to take away my freedoms and my rights, and you know, just I don't. I'm trying to stay calm here, and
No need to.
but it's, and I'm not trying to name call or anything, but damn, wake up, people. I mean, when literally they have no idea if they would just take one day and study our history, you know, what it took for us to become the nation we are, then you would understand what the Second Amendment means to the Constitution. The Second Amendment is the backbone of the Constitution. You know, nobody wants their First Amendment, their freedom of speech, infringed upon. Okay, without the Second Amendment, what do you think is going to happen to the first, and the third, and the fourth, and the fifth, and the sixth? Without the Second Amendment, we're powerless. And the government knows this. That's why the biggest thing you see the government push for is gun control. What can we take away from law-abiding citizens next? You know, at one time there was an assault weapon ban put into place during the Clinton era. That ban was lifted. Thank God we had politicians in office at this point. Yeah, then when the assault ban was in place, crime rate didn't change, killings didn't go down. And that's actually the statistics now show, since the ban has been lifted, as far as these mass murders with these, well, let's call them mass shootings, the ones that you only hear televised on TV, has dropped. No, people are getting killed every day with handguns. We can talk about revolvers. You'll never hear about these statistics. You gotta go on yourself and look up these statistics, and people are too lazy to do this. They hear something on CNN and they're like, yes, that is it. Yes, we will do it. We're gonna take away our rights, and yes, we're gonna march tomorrow for it. You know, CNN is the Bible.
Always. When Mike, I've never gotten had the pleasure, I should say, of shooting an AR-15 or anything like it. But from what I've been told, is banning them is useless, because unless you've actually have some idea what you're doing, you probably won't even get it to shoot properly.
Well, an AR-15 is
you don't know what you're
actually
doing. Useless.
It's an all-around gun. I mean, it's used as a competition shooter myself. It's widely used in competition sports. It's a 22 caliber bullet, 55 grain bullet, up to 75 grain. It's not a very powerful cartridge. The velocity on it, yeah, it's 3,000 to 3,200 feet per second. Some are pushing upwards around 3,300 feet per second because it's such a lightweight bullet. As far as power, there's no huge power factor to a 223 or 5.56. That's why you don't see people hunting with it. Now, you want to talk about hunting rifles, 30-30, 30-06, 308. I'd much rather get shot by a 5.56 any day than a 308 or a 30-06. People, like I said, if they don't understand guns. They don't know. I could tell them 44 mag, 223, 5.56. It would be like talking to the wall there. They wouldn't have a clue what I'm saying. They just have it built in their head that this AR is a weapon of war, and that it's some mean, devastating machine, and it shouldn't be in the hands of civilians. You know, the AR, and a lot of people don't know this, the AR has been in civilian population. I mean, civilians have owned and been on the market the AR-15 for 59 years now. So why all of a sudden, out of 59 years, did the AR-15 all of a sudden turn evil and go around and start killing people by itself?
Exactly. People think that the AR stands for assault rifle too, and it doesn't.
No, AR is Armalite. That's the company who manufactured and started it, was Armalite. That's why it's called AR. What you see, what we were issued in the Army was the M4. The M4 carbine, it doesn't look like the AR, yes, but is it the same gun? No. You know, the M4 can shoot 3-round burst, or in some cases, they shoot automatic. Now, those barrels on the M4 are tempered and heat treated to handle that rate of fire. If I was to take store-bought AR off the shelf, and even if I had a bump fire stock on it, and if I was to run 6 magazines, if I had 6 30-round magazines I ran in a row, bump firing it, I'd probably tear the rifling out of the barrel, because those barrels aren't made to handle that rate of fire and the heat that it generates from doing so. They're just not made for it. So when people say an AR is a weapon of war, when I was in the Army, if you handed me an AR and said, hey, you're going to fight with this, I'd have hit you upside the head with it. No, you're going to fight with this. I didn't
know that. I'm going to mention that whenever I talk about guns now. I did not have any clue at all about. I don't know a lot about guns, but some of it I did not know.
That's what, and everybody out here protesting AR, they don't know what they're talking about. You know, I take a Ruger Mini 14 chambered in the same caliber, 5.56, and has the same capacity. I can put a 20-round mag, 10-round mag, 30-round mag in it, put it side by side by the AR, and everyone say, oh, you can have that one, but you can't have that one. Reason why is, excuse me, the Ruger Mini 14 has a wooden stock on it. It looks nice and pretty like a hunting rifle. And the AR, the Armalite rifle, is black. It's black and synthetic. It's made that way to lighten the rifle up, and so you can accessorize it, you know, for whatever your intents on using it for, whether it be sporting, hunting, target shooting, whatever. But they don't understand is that Ruger Mini 14 is the same is that AR. It shoots the same bullet. It has the same round capacity as the AR. It just has a wooden stock on it.
It doesn't look as scary.
Yeah, it's not. Don't look scary. And an AR doesn't look scary. It's just.
Oh, it does to a snowflake.
When that's all you're told, and some people are more, susceptible to being brainwashed than others. But when that's all they hear is, oh, ARs are bad, ARs are bad, ARs are bad, then they generate a picture in their head that, oh my God, this thing is so terrible. I just don't want it. It shouldn't be in society. People shouldn't be allowed to have it. What would be the difference? You don't hear about shootings. No, what about the shootings where the bad guy was using a handgun? Well, what would have been the difference if he had walked into school, had 2 Glock 17s with 30-round mags in each, then had 30-round magazines in every pocket? You probably wouldn't have heard anything on the news about it then.
And if you did, it would just be a further walk down we were talking about earlier, where the goal is to take away all weapons to start with.
Well, that's the end goal, is to take away all weapons. Then you heard about the bump stock ban, but you haven't seen one yet, correct?
No, not yet, thankfully.
Well, there's a reason for that. The way the ATF has it worded, this is where they're having a struggle with. The ATF defines a semi-automatic weapon as a weapon that fires 1 bullet per trigger pull. So a semi-automatic weapon is only going to fire 1 round per trigger pull. So you can pull that trigger in and hold it as long as you want. It's only going to disperse 1 round. An automatic rifle, with the press of the trigger, it will continue to fire until the trigger is released or it runs out of ammunition. With a bump stock, the bump stock is using the recoil to bounce your finger into the trigger, which you're still only shooting 1 bullet per squeeze of the trigger. So the bump stock does not defy any laws of the ATF. That's why they're having a hard time banning this right now. Because regardless, if it increases it increases the rate of fire, but still you're only firing 1 bullet per trigger squeeze. It's not like it doesn't. A bump stock does not turn a semi-automatic weapon to an automatic weapon. The only thing it's doing is using the rifle's recoil to bounce that trigger against your finger, which increases the rate of fire. But there's shooters out there, and you can look on YouTube, who can fire off an AR or any semi-automatic rifle, standing side by side with the guy at the bump stock, and fire it off just as fast as the guy at the bump stock.
Very interesting.
And I don't need a bump stock to bump fire a rifle. I can use my belt loop. If you're really good at it, you can do it from the shoulder using your finger. So the bump stock ban that's their way of getting the foot in the door for banning something else. You know, like the one kid said in the speech, I forget her name. She says, "Oh, and when we get that bump stock ban, that's just the beginning. We're going to get it all." Yeah, good luck. Because I can tell you, there's a lot of guys out there like me who are pro Second Amendment, and you're not getting our guns. No, it's just not going to happen. And I really wish people would wake up and see what they're doing. They're going to drive us into another civil war. It's going to get ugly and nasty. Then what happens? If anything should be banned, I think we should have banned all assault politicians and eradicate high-capacity, full automatic stupidity.
Amen.
There'd be a good place to start.
We've got guys. We've had him on for about 40 minutes here, so we're going to be winding it down. Friends, feel free to call 330-371-4530. I lied. I did give it one more time. As we go, Bill, go ahead and let everyone know where to be on May 5th, and if there's anything that you would like to give as parting wisdom or thoughts or whatever, by all means, definitely do so. Let them know how to contact you, all of that good stuff.
When this video is over, I'll go ahead and post a link to the event page. That'll be, I don't want to, I could say here, it's going to take too long to go into all the information. This Friday, I'll be posting in detail everything as far as walk routes, rally points, where we're meeting at. I can tell everybody for sure right now, the big parking lot, anybody familiar with downtown Barberton knows what I'm talking about. The big parking lot there beside McDonald's they use for the cherry blossom. That's where majority of us are going to park. It looks like we're going to have a pretty big turnout. Just from the event page, we can have anywhere from 500 to 900 people there. And the more we get, the better. We're not going down there protesting per se. It's going to be a silent protest. We're going to exercise our Second Amendment right. We're going to, exercise our open carry right. And basically, we're down there to educate others on the Second Amendment and just any other questions that, the public might have that they're unaware of. And we're there to make we're there to bring awareness of the Second Amendment. But I will leave a link on this video to the event page so everybody can go to the event page. This Friday, all the information will be posted. They can see what's posted so far. But that's the best advice I can give is follow the event page, which I will post a link on here.
And while I'm talking real quick, I'm going to go to screen share. Here is the event page. I've got it up. And you can go there, facebook.com, May 5th, it begins, Second Amendment Awareness Open Carry. You see that logo, friends? That means you have arrived at the right spot when you do. Bill, thank you so much for being on the show. It was wonderful. I hope a lot of you learned a lot. I know I certainly did. For one thing, I didn't know about the heating barrel thing. People, they're going to make it an automatic. If they don't treat it, it's going to melt like candle wax.
Yeah, exactly.
All
You know,
right,
it's there's,
go,
you know, it's a short show. You know, we can't cover everything. You know, I I shouldn't have to get on here and give a history lesson to grown-ups. Everybody should know their own history. You know, they should know our American history. Unfortunately, most don't, and the ones that you see out there protesting to take away their own freedom and liberties, those are the ones obviously who don't know their history.
Now,
Because if they did,
before we get off, we have time. What do you think? If you were gonna give a synopsis of the history that you think they should know, or either that maybe they have learned wrong, what would the important points be? Do you think?
you know, my suggestion is quit being lazy, quit getting your history from CNN. You know, regardless what you were taught in school, open up a book. You know, look what our founding fathers went through. Look at the wars that were fought and the blood that was shed to make us a free nation and give us the rights and freedoms we have today. And you want to go out there and protest and take all that away. And they think that they're only taking away one gun. It's not going to work that way. They don't want just one gun, they want all guns. Now, as far as them reappealing the Second Amendment, that will never happen. But as far as them passing bills to ban weapons, they can do that with the stroke of a pen. But I can tell you right now, and whoever's watching this, Bill Baker is not turning in his guns. You want my guns, and come get them. And what really pissed me off was I saw an interview of a sheriff. Well, he was running for sheriff, and he made the exact statement that he was giving his little speech. Well, these guys go around saying, if you want my gun, you'll have to pry it from my cold dead hand. Well, so be it. Challenge accepted, bitch. Come get it.
And again, the goal is to make sure that it doesn't come to that, because there have been a lot of great countries throughout history that have killed their own people. For that matter, it happened to Jesus himself. That's the kind of thing the Constitution is supposed to prevent, and the Second Amendment, I think, is the building block for that to be a reality.
Yeah, and these countries that have actually banned weapons and took weapons from their civilians, you know, research those countries. You know, there's plenty of videos online. Listen to what those people have to say, what it's like living there. Why do you think all those people want to come here to the United States?
Exactly.
Because this is supposed to be land of the free and home of the brave, you know? Well, it's still land of the free, but home of the brave, that you know, it doesn't seem like there's that slogan. If they had their way, they would change that slogan as well. But you know, the brave part seems to be fading away.
Painfully so.
But you always have people like me, and like I said, you know, I'm the majority. You know, me and the rest of my patriot fellows and everybody who's pro Second Amendment and believes in the Constitution, we're the majority. Not these people out here protesting. You know, they're a very, 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 very small fraction of what's actually taking place. And it's just, I'm kind of curious to see where it's going to go from here. I mean, I know there's already towns who've actually passed bans on semi-automatic weapons where you're not allowed to own them, period. There is, I believe it was a town in California. Well, I'm having a brain fart moment. That's okay. But yeah, one town has already banned assault weapons. If you live in that town, you can't own them. If you did own them, you had to get rid of them. And I've noticed more and more too. It's become the new movement. Everybody who's running for mayor or politician or whatever is feeding into this narrative well, I will ban all guns. I will ban all semi-automatic weapons. I'll ban all assault weapons. Assault weapons is a made-up term by the media. There's no such thing as assault weapon. A gun is an inanimate object. How can it be classified as an assault weapon? When's the last time you saw a gun think on its own, walk on its own, and act on its own?
And again, it proves that they don't trust the average person. They say that we need to treat all people equally, but yet they think all people can't be trusted to even own a firearm without the majority or even a very large number going off and killing someone. And that's just not what the numbers show.
No, exactly. And every time one person, this person, and if we want to go deeper into this subject, this kid who committed this horrible act was interviewed by police and FBI 32 times, if not more. Why was he able to legally go in and purchase a firearm? I mean, he made threats in the past. He was going to do what he did. He obviously had he had some mental issues going on. I don't want to label him anything, but he clearly has some mental issues going on. But to be interviewed by the police, sheriff, and FBI 32 plus times and still be able to go into a store and legally purchase a firearm, that right there raises a red flag to me.
Not to mention, they want to take veterans, though, who may have post-traumatic stress disorder, and maybe, that they talk to a psychiatrist for 6 months. They want to take the guns away from that person, but somebody who has mental problems without being in the war, that's interviewed by the police over 30 times, can buy anything short of a nuclear warhead.
Yeah, exactly. And people who want to start labeling my brothers and sisters with PTSD, for one, they better know what they're talking about first. PTSD comes in many waves. So for any civilian out there who's never been in combat, really, who has no knowledge on PTSD, has no right to even open their mouth about PTSD. I'd rather see armed veterans suffering with PTSD than these Tide Pod eating, condom snorting, libtards we have out there now armed.
An interesting side note, I had written this for the Conservative Daily Post. They don't even know, at least the Tide Pod was their own ridiculous creation. I'm a fan of a really weird art and music. Remember the Enigma, the guy with the puzzle pieces? He was snorting condoms like 25 years ago. I'm floored that now the snowflakes don't even have their own ridiculous games. They're taking other people.
I'm sorry, when you sit there and eat Tide Pods and I don't care if you're doing it for likes or reviews, there's something mentally wrong with you.
How it crossed the mind is the most interesting part for me. I'm not so much shocked that people are dumb enough to do it as that it came out. Let me see if this is a listener. Hello, are you calling for the show? You are? Hello, let me put on speakerphone. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, wonderful. What's your name, sir?
How you doing?
Mike, how's it going? Welcome to the Correct Views. What did you want to say?
Earlier in the show, you were talking about how the Christians are sitting back and saying that you shouldn't have a gun to protect yourself and stuff like that. I don't know if you have a Bible handy, but I would tell people to take a look at Luke 22:36. And in my analysis of how the Lord sat back and said this is, if you don't have a Glock, go sell your coat and buy one.
Exactly. And I think, what do you think? I've also mentioned on other shows, Mike, that it's Christ told Peter to keep watch, and when he attacked the guard, he replaced his ear. I don't think Christ was angry at Peter for having struck the guard. I think he was angry at Peter for not understanding that he didn't want him to do that until, unless they bothered him while he was praying. Because he told him to keep watch. I think he was supposed to do that.
Well, on top of that, what people don't realize is if the Lord didn't want us to be armed now, why was Peter armed with the same thing as the soldiers were?
Very good point. Did you hear that, Bill?
Yes, I did. And, he's absolutely right. Like I said, even Christians, even Christians had to fight and battle, for their beliefs. And Christians were being prosecuted and slaughtered by the hundreds of thousands. God didn't sit there and tell them to stand down and go ahead and be struck by the sword. It's in our nature, our God-given right to protect our lives and our loved ones. That's not a right given us by the government. It's not the right given to us by politicians or president. That is a God-given right that we're born with. It's instilled to us, from birth, that we're going to defend our life no matter what. That's nothing we're taught. That's an instinct we're born with.
The one thing that people don't realize is that, it's a misnomer for calling it the Bill of Rights. It is actually it should be called the Bill of Restrictions, which is upon the government. We already have the right. The Second Amendment merely sits back and protects that right. It doesn't give us a right, it protects it.
That's a very important nuance, Mike. Very, very good point. Yes, the Bill of Rights protects the rights. The rights are coming from God. For you snowflakes, it's instilled by Darwin.
Yeah, but it doesn't, like he said, it shouldn't be called the Bill of Rights. It should be called the Bill of Suggestions.
Yeah, the way that's being treated, yes.
The way they're being treated.
You sit back and you read the Second Amendment as to the law regulating the militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, which means that whoever is sworn an oath to that Constitution is not allowed to mess with it. That be infringed. All those 1,000 laws that we have in this country are all constitutionally illegal.
He hit the nail right on the head. The same politicians who swore the same oath as I did to uphold and protect the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestics, are the same ones who are sitting there and trying to repeal it and take away our constitutional rights. But they're the good guys.
Are you coming to the march on May 5th, Mike?
No, I've already got my flag set up.
I've got the old trusty van. As long as it gets me there, I will be there. Mike, thank you so much for calling. God bless and have a wonderful night.
Take care.
All right. People are calling in, and so I'm going to do it one more time. 330-371-4530. We're going to give it about 5 minutes, and if nobody calls in, we're going to call it a night. That'll make it 1 full hour, friends. So if you're going to call, do it quickly. The correct views, 330-371-4530. Bill, I think we've educated.
And the event's called May 5th. It begins. That was done purposely because it's exactly what it says. May 5th, it begins. I've already been contacted by several people who want me to organize events in their areas. So after May 5th event, the one in Barberton, there's going to be many more to follow. Then from that point, it's going to be called It Began May 5th.
Very nice. Very nice. Are you going to do anything near Canton? That's where I'm at. Or is it
actually, it's funny you said that because I got a message last night from a person who lives in Canton and wants to put together an open carry walk similar to what we're doing here in Barberton. Now, Barberton, I didn't pull any permits for a protest or anything. That's why it's just going to be an open carry walk. We're not going out there protesting. But we are going to show our support for the Second Amendment. And like I said, anybody who wants, we're going to hand out flyers to people explaining the Constitution, what the Constitution means, why we have the Constitution, why we're the free nation we are now, what we went through to become the free nation that we are. We're trying to educate people who are not educated. I'm not saying due to their fault, especially teenagers in school now. They're trying to take history away from the school system. And that brings me back to my point earlier. They're doing it on purpose. They're brainwashing future voters.
And they're doing it on all fronts. I think you can find it. One of the ways I think you can find it, and people overlook it, is they say that history was skewed because we know that roughly between 2 to 8% of the people have always been gay. And that you don't hear about them being gay because they were kept out of history. They don't understand context. For instance, people didn't talk about sexuality a whole lot during most periods of time. Yes, they did in Greece, ancient Rome. Yes, I get it. Pre-Nazi Germany.
Well, look at all the pictures that are drawn from back in the ancient, the Egyptians and stuff.
Yeah,
it's nothing new.
but they say that during the classical literature period, there wasn't much reference to gay. There wasn't much reference to straight either because they didn't talk about sex very often. It wasn't appropriate in the time period that they're referencing. And my point being, they do the same thing with guns. They'll say that that these weapons, they weren't needed during this time or this time, and they completely take it out of context to the point where they've neutered the Second Amendment before their sentences.
When I went to school, especially all through elementary school, first thing we did in the morning was stand up and pledge allegiance to the flag.
Yes.
I remember bringing BB guns in for show and tell.
I used to bring in throwing stars, and they'd be like, if I see that, you lose it. That's all they'd say.
I mean, I remember specifically in the 4th grade, I brought in a BB gun for show and tell. And it was allowed by the school. Of course, my parents called, got permission, and they said, yes, you can bring it in. My parents had to come with me when I brought it in. But still, I was able to bring it in for show and tell. The Constitution and what it means, we were being educated on it now. My 17-year-old daughter, who's in 11th grade this year, I've asked her questions about what are they teaching her as far as history and the Constitution. Well, they don't teach us much about the Constitution. I'm like, what about the Second Amendment? She goes, well, they teach us about the first and the fourth and the fifth, but they don't really teach us much about the second. The only reason she knows about the second is because of me.
And think about that, friends. Who pays for the education? If there's any doubt that the government is leaning strong to the left, despite who the president might be, here's the proof.
Most of the president.
Big government supports the schools, and the schools don't support the Second Amendment. So that would tell you that the government is leaning left just by following the dollars.
And the president is who they say the president. But the president still needs the power of Congress. Mm-hmm. The president, he can veto Congress, but he does that too many times, then he loses all support from Congress. Regardless of the president, he still needs the backing from Congress. And we keep getting these left-wing liberals in there, and that's where we need us, the people. We can fight this is at the polls, at the voting booth.
And we're
like I said,
moderate liberals. So I forget his name. The gentleman in Pennsylvania that barely won. He was a pro-union Democrat that was pro-Second Amendment. He was a Marine, and
yes, you do. You do have Democrats that are pro-Second Amendment. But there's, unfortunately, you have people that are high in power and their pockets seem to run. They have no bottom to them, who are on, I call the dark side.
George
who are
Soros.
funding. Yeah, I wasn't going to say his name. Yeah, George Soros he's one of them. These March for Our Live rallies they have, he pays these people to show up at these events and busloads of men on these big charter buses.
Hello, are you calling for the correct views? Oh, hold on one second. It's Greg again. He wants to go ahead and plug a political figure. Go ahead, my friend.
Yeah, Christina Hagan. She's running for Congress. And she's a very pro-life, pro-Christian, and very strong pro-Second Amendment supporter.
Yeah. And again,
wasn't she at Columbus, the Patriot Day, this past weekend?
Pardon me?
Was she at Patriot?
Wasn't she at Patriot Day?
I don't know if she was there or not.
I think she was.
I did follow some of her stuff in that. As far as being representative in Ohio, she's a very strong pro-Second Amendment politician. She's a very articulate young lady.
And again, I think that's where people on the more right side of things differ from those on the left. Not everyone listening to this show is pro-life. Most of them are. Some people are gray area. But when it comes to the right to defend ourselves, it's such a much more vital issue that it's good to see that she's standing up strong for this. And maybe she'll come to your rally, Bill. Thank you so much for calling again.
All right, take care.
Yes, God bless.
You know, it's that's like I said, this is something we got to beat at the polls. We have to be really careful from this day forward on who we vote into office. But we've had politicians that we voted in who completely did a 180 on us once they got into office. So you just because someone out there is saying, "Oh, I'm pro Second Amendment, I'm this and that," do your homework on that person. You know, you'd be surprised what you can find on the web.
And that's I think vital when you realize that the people who are making the laws now, oftentimes they'll complain. The people complaining about the laws, I should say, you've got people raging against the Koch brothers who may or may not be a detriment, to be honest, but they don't mind Soros. His money's fine because he agrees with them, but the Koch brothers are, the devil and his son.
Oh, exactly.
All right,
I'm not going to put, I'm sorry, I'm not against the government. I'm not one of these, how you want to classify them. I'm not one of the anti-government people. I support our government. I support our president. Like I said, I served in the military almost 10 years. My dad was Secret Service for 20 years. Actually, Reagan was the last president my dad served for. He retired before Bush came into office. I have nothing against the government, but I'm not going to put, I'm not going to put the security of my life in the government's hand where I'm only relying on the government to protect me. No, that's my God-given right to be able to defend myself and my family, and I'm going to. And no matter what law they pass, they can mark me now if they want to. You are not getting my guns.
Any good Reagan stories from your dad?
Nothing I want to go into.
Fair enough.
Reagan, my dad, probably people out there saying, y'all, you're full of shit. Your dad wasn't Secret Service. I can show you his retirement plaque right now, the 5 presidents he served for. My dad didn't talk much about the job. There's a lot of things he couldn't talk about. And I was real young at that time. I was 12 years old when my dad passed away. But that's a job that he doesn't, they don't come home bragging to their family about per se. The only thing that really stuck in my mind was I knew one time I was born and raised in DC, and we were living in Temple Hills, Maryland. And we lived at an apartment complex called Heather Hill. And we had neighbors move in next door to us. And a week later, my dad's coming home saying we have to move. And the only reason I know why we had to move was because the neighbors next door to us.
Oh.
So, the Secret Service, yeah, and it depends. Most of my dad's details, I would say probably over 80% of the details my dad was on was presidential details. He was traveling all the time. He hated the job. He really did.
So he couldn't even say why you had to move. You had to go.
Well, he told us it was because, and I know this because my mother, we still talk about it to this day. Wherever you live, I guess they do background checks on your neighbors. And if there's something they don't like, yeah, they make you move. Of course, they pay for you to move and everything. But yeah, they made us move.
All right, friends. I'm gonna unless you've got more to get to, I've got nowhere to be. But otherwise, I'm gonna let you go and enjoy the rest of your day. I want to thank you very much for being on the show, listeners. Leave comments and hit share. Get people down, over, up, wherever you are, to Barberton, Ohio, on May 5th, where it begins. And thank you so much, Bill Baker, for being on the show.
I'm just one person. I can't do this by myself. I appreciate everybody who's showing up. Rod, he was unable. He stepped up and helped me with organizing this event. He wasn't able to join in on this, but I give him a lot of credit. I give no credit to everybody who shows up and stands up for our Second Amendment. And we need all the support we can get right now. I know there's a lot of pro Second Amendment people out there who are remaining silent. Remaining silent isn't going to do us any good right now. Pick up your phone, call your congressman, write them letters, blow them up, let them know where you stand, let them know what you're going to tolerate, not tolerate, and let them know that come next election, what they do, is going to say whether or not they remain in the position they're in or not.
He's right. It will not do a bit of good to do nothing. They will just come and get your guns while you did nothing to stop it.
And I'll say it again. I want to ban all assault politicians, and I want to ratify high capacity, fully automatic stupidity. If we can ban and ratify that, good to go.
And hopefully it'll happen sooner rather than later. Friends, if you want to donate, if you want to support the show, you can do so at the correctviews@hotmail.com. You can donate through PayPal. Bill, where can they get a hold of you? Or email, or just through the May 5th It Begins page on Facebook.
Yeah, the best way to get a hold of me, I don't want to put my email out there public just yet.
Yeah.
Best way to get a hold of me would be through Facebook. You can get a hold of me through the event page and message me through there if you want to get a hold of me. Like I said, I'll share links. You posted the link up. I'll share once you post this video, I will share the link on the video.
It should render in about
anybody
an hour or so.
Yeah, so anybody who wants to get a hold of me can get a hold of me through there, no problem. Like I said, I'm not going to get into detail on that, but my military career ended on a medical, so I'm wounded. I've been through 16 operations over the last 4.5 years, so I'm unable to work right now. I got nothing but time. to dedicate to this movement and this event. And so usually if someone wants to get a hold of me, I respond pretty quickly.
All right, friends, and he's even with all that standing up for our rights, and it sounds like it's not a particularly pain-free thing for him to do. So I guarantee if he can do it, you can do it, friends. Thank you so much, and we're going to stay in contact. If the VA gives you a hard time, let me know. We'll put that on the air too.
No. It's no problems with the VA, nothing like that.
That's wonderful.
Actually, I have nothing bad to say about the military. It broke my heart. I fought the med board the whole way. It broke my heart to get out. I knew physically I couldn't do the job no more, but my heart just wasn't ready to quit. My body wasn't able to do it, but just my heart wasn't ready to quit. So I fought it. I fought a losing battle, knew even taking it to the med board that I was going to get meted out. Just due to the nature.
Go ahead.
Yeah, just due to the nature of my injuries, I knew that there was no way in the world they were going to keep me in. But I went through the process and fought it anyways.
You're still in the fight, I was going to say, and doing a great thing for the war that is on the Second Amendment. And thanks to people like you fighting the war that doesn't, hopefully there won't be bullets either.
I swore an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution. I might not serve my country anymore, but I was never relieved of that oath. And personally, I think that's an oath that every patriot out there who believes in the Constitution, that's an oath that everybody, should uphold and keep. Not just to us that serve in law enforcement and the military. That's an oath that everybody, every citizen out there should be, fighting to uphold and keep, not fighting to take away.
Those who feel the same, make sure you are at Barberton, the big lot by the McDonald's, as it were. And that's where it begins. And
yeah, the address, I don't know the address offhand, but the address is on the page. And like I said, this Friday.
Well, let me see here. Go ahead. I'm looking up your address.
What's that?
I said, go ahead. I'm looking up your address. Facebook's being painfully slow.
Yeah, I think the address to that parking lot's 5 something. It's on the event page, but I'm gonna repost that up there Friday.
505 West Tuscarawas Street. For those of you not nearby, that is the complicated Indian word that all of us just truncate to Tusk. 505 West Tusk, Tuscarawas Avenue in Barberton, Barberton, Ohio 44703. It starts at 1 p.m. on Saturday.
Yes, that's the rally point. That's where we're all meeting. Oh, and I am asking everybody, might not be on the event page that hears this. We have one of the local food pantries there who feed the needy, in Barberton, the 44203 area code area. They're going to set up and they're going to be ready at 1 p.m. I'm asking everybody that shows up to bring canned foods or non-perishable food items. We're going to donate to that pantry to help out with the citizens in Barberton and Norton area.
Wonderful. So not only are we helping with the Second Amendment, but helping with the erosion of the Second Amendment, but helping feed the hungry as well.
Yes, we're going to help the community out while we're there.
Wonderful. So friends, hit share, hit subscribe, and make sure you go to the event page and let Bill know you watched. Thanks for being on, Bill. Good night, friends. God bless.